I'm Avril Lavigne, wishing you guys all a happy holiday.
I think that I'm just a rock chick.
I would describe my music and my sound as Avril Lavigne.
The best damn thing.
Merry Christmas, and welcome to this special Christmas edition of the Best Damn Avril Lavigne podcast, a facts and trivia-based podcast about Canadian pop singer Avril Lavigne. I'm your host, Andrea DiFrancesco. The opening theme music you just heard is from Audio Jungle called Punk Rock Christmas, perfectly fitting for an Avril Lavigne Christmas. In today's episode, we'll get into the holiday spirit by discussing Avril's Christmas songs. But before we launch into our festivities, I want to first give an update on what's been happening with Avril since our last episode. On December 10th, Avril did a couple of new interviews where she discussed her new music, her plans for 2022, and how she feels about being an influence on newer artists. In her interview with She Is the Voice on the radio station Alt 98.7, she even revealed that she has plans to turn Skater Boy into a movie to coincide with the 20th anniversary of her debut album next year. Then Christmas came early for Avril fans this year as she ended up finally dropping the long-awaited acoustic version of Bite Me, and it did not disappoint. There was some confusion initially about when the acoustic version would be released. Some fans had believed it would be out on December 10th, but this did not happen. It actually ended up coming out the following week on December 17th, along with a new music video. So let's take a second and talk all about it. So my thoughts on the acoustic version of Bite Me, I actually really like it. I like the original song a lot, but obviously the acoustic version is very different. It's a lot different than what I was expecting because in the past, whenever Avril has done acoustic versions of songs, it sounded very similar to the original, but just with acoustic guitars and that kind of thing, different instrumentation. And in some cases, they've even just reused her same vocals. Like they didn't even re-record the vocals. So I like that this is very clearly re-recorded and that there was a lot of effort put into making it sound truly different from the original. I was really surprised that they went in this direction with it because obviously the original is so up-tempo, fast, aggressive, angry, has this kind of like fun sound to it or like kind of funny lyrics, and it's very like tongue-in-cheek. And the acoustic version, it's almost like a completely different song. And it represents this entirely different side to it. And I think it really sort of brings out the sadder elements of the lyrics, which you might not really get from the original. But when you hear it this way, where it's more stripped down and her vocals are much more lamenting and more emotional and stripped back, you can hear the more raw emotion of the lyrics and that it isn't just a song about taking revenge on an ex and saying, you know, I deserve better and you suck and that kind of thing. It's also reflecting on the pain that comes with a relationship, even though there's this part of the song that is about being happy about not having this person in your life anymore, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't still come with pain. And I think that that's what this acoustic version does a really good job of doing, is showing that other side to this song and this type of breakup. Like even if you're happy about the breakup or you're like happy this person's out of your life, there's still that pain and that sadness that comes along with it. So I think this acoustic version does a really good job of showing that. Also, I have to say, I really like how Avril's voice sounds on this track. Some people think that her voice sounds too edited or like too auto-tuned, but I have to say I don't really notice it at all. I think her voice actually sounds very natural, and it's a very natural sounding performance from her. And I think it's one of her best vocal recordings. Like I think if somebody had never really heard Avril's music, this would be one of the examples that I would point them to, honestly, because I think it's such a good example of how actually good of a singer she really is. And to me, I don't think there was that much editing going on, but, you know, of course I could be wrong about that. But I think no matter what, I think her voice sounds very natural on this track and that it's one of her best vocal recordings. And then as far as the music video goes, the music video came out the same day as the single, and it was directed by her boyfriend and album collaborator Mod Sun, and it features a cameo appearance by her album producer John Feldman as the dentist, and his wife Amy plays the dental assistant. I thought that was a really funny kind of little Easter egg to throw in there for the fans who have really been paying attention to Avril's social media posts, where she shared a lot of behind the scenes of making the album, and people that know that John Feldman is very involved with this album. I just thought it was a really cool, funny little Easter egg to have him like be the first thing that we see in the video. The music video is so different, I think, than anything Avril has done. And I think a lot of people think that it is very noticeably a lot more like a Mod Sun music video, that it's more his style. And it is definitely very dark, and it's got this kind of concept about like literally telling this guy that he can bite her, but she takes his teeth out so that he can't. So I thought that was a really clever kind of play on the whole bite me theme. And obviously it is very dark and disturbing. And I think that's the point. You know, some people found it disturbing or like it was too much, but I think that was the point. I think it was supposed to be unsettling. And that's what makes it so kind of like shocking when you first see it. Like I was really kind of surprised to see her do a video like this and to kind of play with a concept like that, but in like a good way. And I actually really liked the video a lot. I didn't have a lot of expectations for the video, to be honest. I thought it was just going to be sort of like the Flames acoustic music video where it's just her with an acoustic guitar kind of like performing the song. So I was really pleasantly surprised when they actually went with an actual concept and like a plot for the video. And it seems to be like a continuation of the previous video, which is something that Modson has done a lot with his music videos as well, is that they kind of all interconnect. They have these sort of interconnecting plot devices, I guess. So the thing that seems to connect these two videos together is that the guy who is in the dentist chair, I want to say is the same actor from the previous video, or at least somebody who looks very, very similar. So I think the idea is that it is supposed to be the same guy from the original Bite Me music video. And then, of course, Avril is like carrying the pliers around with her that she had from when she was like destroying his house. Some people aren't sure if maybe the guy is like dreaming all this because he's being sedated for like the dental procedure. People are not sure if like maybe he's dreaming of Avril getting this revenge on him, or if this is actually like what actually happens. And I will agree with some people who say that like the second half of the video doesn't really have much going on and that they could have done more with that. So I will agree there. As far as like the concept of Avril like pulling his teeth out and then she wears it as a necklace. Yeah, where's the blood? How come he doesn't wake up at some point and see that he doesn't have any teeth, or like the dentist never comes back in to check on him and sees like, oh, his teeth are all gone. So I do think that there is a little bit of stuff missing from the end. I think that's kind of the only thing about the video that I would have done differently, is that like I think the first half is really strong where it sets up the scene and we see Avril come in and she gets her revenge and all of that. But then the second half of the video, the plot never like fully resolves, and maybe they're purposely leaving it open-ended so that they can do like another video where we see the rest of the story, which is very possible. But I would have liked to see something kind of at the end that kind of ties it all together, or at least hints at something to come that will kind of tie the rest of the plot together. Overall, I think it was a really good effort, especially because it was done with such a small crew with like just Matson and this other director, Charlie Zwick, I think his name is, that he's worked with before. And they probably did it on like a minimal budget. And of course, there's COVID restrictions and that sort of thing. So there could have been a lot of reasons why they didn't do more with the plot and stuff. But I think considering those circumstances and considering that it's just an acoustic video and it was honestly a lot more than what I was expecting, I think it was a really good effort. And I was just really intrigued by this video. I was like pleasantly surprised at how much I liked it. And like, yes, the concept is disturbing. And yes, some people find it like unsettling and stuff. But I don't know. I think that's part of it. I think that's part of what art is. It's like, obviously, no one should actually go around doing this. But I think that's the point, is that it's supposed to show that Avril is kind of like this psychotic ex or something. I don't know. I wouldn't think too deeply about it, honestly. I think it's just part of the art and it's part of the storytelling. And again, it's like a clever play on the whole bite me concept where she's telling him that he can bite her, but she's taking his teeth out. I just thought the whole thing was really clever, honestly, and a really good job done by everybody. So those are my overall general thoughts about the acoustic version of Bite Me and the music video. And speaking of music videos, Avril also had a brief appearance in Madson's music video for Down, which was released on December 16th. And as if all of that weren't enough exciting news, Avril also revealed that she will be playing Rock in Rio next year. And there's also been some rumors going around about the album cover and title, heard from people who know an industry contact working at Warner, which works with Avril's record label. So if you don't want any spoilers about anything to do with the 7th album, then feel free to just skip ahead by like maybe 30 seconds or so. I felt like it was important to share this information, even if it is just a rumor, because I think a lot of people have seen it circulating around online. And so I just thought I kind of have to mention it. So the album is rumored to also be called Bite Me, and the album cover supposedly features Avril in a dress with black balloons that spell out the album title with an explosion of red. But again, this is purely just a rumor based on an industry contact who works at the label, I guess. So there's a good chance it is probably the case, but obviously Avril has yet to post about the album, officially reveal the name, reveal the cover, track list, all that kind of stuff. So we will just have to simply wait and see about that. But, rumors or not, I always think it's really fun to discuss them. Almost all of her albums, at least since the Goodbye Lullaby era, have had rumors come out about possible songs, album titles, covers, concepts, that sort of thing. And it's just always really fun to discuss it and to see whether the predictions come true or not. And, it's not going to be very long until we find out for sure. And I just think it's a fun thing to talk about. So that brings us up to date with Avril's current activities, and now that we're all caught up, let's dive into our facts and trivia about Avril's Christmas songs. We've actually already covered some of these in a previous episode, but I figured I would share this info again for anyone who may be new to the podcast, plus we have some new additions as well. And at the end, I'll also give my thoughts on these songs. Oh Holy Night. In 2003, Avril recorded a version of the traditional Christmas hymn Oh Holy Night with Chantal Kreviazuk, who Avril worked with on her second album Under My Skin. O Holy Night, also known as Cantique de Noël, is based on a French poem by Placide Cappeau, written in 1843. Composer Adolphe Adams set it to music in 1847. The English version was written by John Sullivan Dwight. Avril and Chantal's version was released on the compilation albums Maybe This Christmas Too and A Winter's Night and Network Christmas album in 2003. Both albums were released by Network Music Group, who was Avril's management at the time. Besides featuring on vocals, Chantal also produced the track. O Holy Night is a traditional Christian hymn about the birth of Jesus Christ. Frosty the Snowman. On December 2, 2007, Avril gave a free performance in Burnaby, British Columbia for the grand opening of a new Best Buy store. She performed in a snowstorm and did an impromptu rendition of the classic Christmas tune Frosty the Snowman and encouraged the crowd to sing along. Frosty the Snowman was originally written by Walter Jack Rollins and Steve Nelson, and first recorded by Gene Autry and the Cass County Boys in 1950 and later recorded by Jimmy Durante. It was written after the success of Autry's recording of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer the previous year. Rollins and Nelson shopped the new song to Autry, who recorded Frosty in search of another seasonal hit. Like Rudolph, Frosty was subsequently adapted to other media, including a popular television special. Baby It's Cold Outside. In 2017, Avril released a cover of the classic Christmas song Baby It's Cold Outside with pop singer Johnny Blue. The song was originally written by Frank Loesser in 1944 and introduced to the public in 1949 in the film Neptune's Daughter. Avril's version was released on November 22, 2017 and was featured in the Hallmark film Switched for Christmas. Baby It's Cold Outside is a jazz-inspired tune about a woman who wants to get home, but her boyfriend tries to coax her into staying longer with the excuse that it's too cold outside. The song features a call and response style of trading verses to act as dialogue between the two characters. Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. In December 2018, Avril did an impromptu group rendition of Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee at the end of the live stream Live from Ryan's Living Room, which was a virtual fundraiser for the Avril Lavigne Foundation held at the home of Ryan Cabrera. Several artists participated in the event, including Drake Bell and Billy Ray Cyrus. All the artists sang Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree together at the end of the broadcast. Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree was written by Johnny Marks and recorded by Brenda Lee in 1958 when she was only 13 years old. Johnny Marks had written other Christmas hits like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and A Holly Jolly Christmas. Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree would continue his streak of successful Christmas hits, as it became the fourth most digitally downloaded Christmas song of all time in 2008, with over 25 million copies sold worldwide. What Child Is This? In 2020, Avril recorded a cover of the Christian hymn What Child Is This, produced by Tommy Prophet for his epic cinematic Christmas album The Birth of a King. The song was released on the same day as the album on October 16, 2020. The lyrics of What Child Is This were written by William Chatterton Dix in 1865, which was then set to the tune of the English folk song Greensleeves in 1871. It is about the adoration of the shepherds who visit during the birth of Jesus Christ. The questions in the lyrics reflect what the shepherds were possibly thinking to themselves when they encountered Jesus, with the rest of the carol providing a response to their questions. In a comment on the YouTube audio, Tommy Prophet said, "Guys, this one was so fun. Got to know Avril about a year ago, and when I asked her to be a part of this Christmas album, she said yes, 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 yes. She loves and grew up singing Christmas music. Such a fun collab, blending the dark with the hope. Hope y'all love it." In an interview, Avril said, after having worked with Tommy on a few other projects, he reached out to me about making a Christmas album. I was so excited to participate because Christmas music is my favorite, and Tommy's epic cinematic orchestral approach to production absolutely does this classic music genre justice. What Child Is This has been a particular favorite of mine since childhood, and our version of it turned out so well. Tommy also uploaded a video on Instagram detailing how he and Avril worked on the song together. Here's some clips of them describing their experience.
When Tommy asked me to perform on his Christmas album, The Birth of a King, of course I had to say yes, because I absolutely love working with Tommy and I love Christmas music.
What Child Is This kind of has like this dark, haunting melody already baked into it. I was like, man, if we like really accentuate that and the mystery around the question and go a little darker, almost like gothic sounding. And then I was like, this would be so sick if Avril Lavigne sang it.
It was a lot of fun, and I love Tommy's version of all of the songs on the album, and What Child Is This, because it's just like a cinematic, like darker version, and it's super epic.
In order to get this epic, dynamic version of all these songs, like the singers have to sing the highest notes that they can. So I texted her and I was like, all right, it gets a little high. Don't panic. It's going to be amazing.
And Tommy definitely pushed me on this song to sing probably the highest I've ever sang.
So this dark brooding question has to get to an answer. That moment with her and the gospel choir is one of the most talked about moments on the entire album.
In addition to these songs, Avril also made the music video for Tell Me It's Over Christmas themed by including a scene in front of a Christmas tree and her boyfriend wore the Abby Dawn ugly Christmas sweater. Avril has always loved Christmas, so it's no surprise that she has recorded some of her favorites over the years. She's mentioned several times that she would love to record a whole Christmas album one day, but this has yet to happen. So, my thoughts about Avril doing Christmas music and the songs that she has done, because I know some people have mixed feelings about Christmas music in general, and Avril fans in particular have mixed feelings about Avril doing Christmas music. So the idea of Avril doing a Christmas album, I'm not opposed to it. I'm not absolutely dying for her to do one. Like if she never did one, I wouldn't be upset about it. But if she did decide to do one, I would welcome the idea depending on how she goes about it. Because of course, you know, so many artists have done Christmas albums, and especially depending on which songs you choose to do, there have been countless covers of the same songs. So I think if, you know, you're going to do a Christmas album, you kind of have to make it your own, and it has to be different. It has to be unique and original and something that we haven't already heard thousands of other artists do. And I definitely think Avril could do that because she obviously has that like pop punk aspect to her music, so she could make it sort of like pop punk styled, but she also has a really good voice and she can pull off like jazz and more traditional kind of songs. She can pull those off really well because she is a good singer. So I think it would just depend how she went about doing it. And I think that, you know, it could be a mixture of traditional songs and then well-known original songs, I guess, so to speak. Like, for example, All I Want for Christmas Is You, something like that. Or like Rocking Around the Christmas Tree. I think she would do a good job with that one. And then maybe she could write a couple of originals as well. And I think writing original Christmas songs is tricky too. It's sort of like hit or miss. It depends how you go about writing it. Like if it's an upbeat song, if it's a more of a ballad or like a sentimental kind of Christmas song. So I really just think it would depend how she went about it. But I would overall be open to the idea of her doing it. And like, especially because she has said several times that she wants to do it. I'm really surprised that for how long she's talked about doing it, she hasn't done it yet. Right after she was kind of like overcoming Lyme disease, she had talked about wanting to do it. So I'm really surprised that it just hasn't come up yet. For how long she's talked about wanting to do it, and she's always loved Christmas and she's always loved the idea of doing a Christmas album, and she loves Christmas music, and she has done some Christmas songs already. You know, I think if it's something that she wants to do, regardless of how fans feel about it, I think that she should be allowed to do the kind of music that she wants to do, and she should be allowed to experiment and do the kind of music that makes her happy. Like if she loves Christmas and she loves Christmas music, then she should feel free to make, you know, a Christmas EP even, or an album or whatever she wants to do. So I would definitely be open to the idea of her doing one, even just for the fact that it seems like something she's wanted to do for a long time, and I think it would make her happy to do that. So in terms of the actual Christmas songs that she has done already and my thoughts about them, I am not opposed to Christmas music. I am not like somebody who loves to listen to it all throughout the Christmas season. Like I do get sick of hearing the same songs on the radio. I don't have to be playing Christmas music the day after Thanksgiving. I think that, you know, I get sick of it kind of quickly, but I'm not opposed to Christmas music at all. And I do have like some Christmas albums and stuff like that in my collection. As far as how I feel about the ones that Avril has recorded, the ones that we talked about here, basically if I had to rank the three that she has recorded in the studio, that's Oh Holy Night, Baby It's Cold Outside, and What Child Is This? I think ranking them from like worst to best, I would probably put Oh Holy Night at the bottom just because she was quite young when she recorded it, and it's also a duet with Chantel, and I can't say I'm like mega thrilled about how her voice sounds on the track. It's just not really my style. And Avril just doesn't really seem particularly into it. She seems almost like she's being like forced to record it. Like what probably happened is if Network was her management at the time and they had this idea to record a Christmas album, they probably asked all of the artists that they manage, hey, can you record a Christmas song for this album? So it seems like that wasn't really what she wanted to do, but she was probably contractually obligated to. And so she just chose this song for whatever reason, or because she was working on the next album already with Chantal, maybe Chantal suggested it, or she thought, let's do it together. So I would just rank this one at the bottom by default, just because it's not that I don't think Avril sounds nice singing it. Like I think it really displays how natural her voice is, but she just doesn't seem super into it while she's singing it, which is a shame because I actually love Oh Holy Night. It's one of my favorite Christmas songs, but this is not the best version of it that I've heard. I think if Avril were to like re-record it now, I think it would sound so much better with like her more improved voice and technique and that kind of thing. Then I would say maybe my second favorite would be What Child Is This? She does a really good job hitting all those high notes and stuff. And I like that they really experimented with this more dark kind of cinematic version of the song. And I think that fits Avril really well. That fits her style really well. And it's just like a bit of a different take on a traditional hymn kind of song. And she really does go for those high notes. And I think that's a really excellent display of her vocal ability. But it's just not my personal favorite. It's just kind of not really my thing when it comes to Christmas music. I kind of like the more quiet kind of hymns or like upbeat stuff. I'm not particularly into like dark, dramatic kind of songs. So then that leaves Baby It's Cold Outside as my number one favorite, which might be an unpopular opinion. But I really love Avril experimenting with jazz. I think it's kind of surprising to some people that she likes jazz music, but also that she likes to sing it. She did experiment with jazz a little bit on the Head Above Water album with Tell Me It's Over and Crush, and I thought her voice just sounded phenomenal on those songs. I know that like pop punk has always been her thing, but I just think jazz suits her voice better than you would expect it to. And I think her voice adapts really well to that kind of music. And, you know, this song is no different. Baby It's Cold Outside is kind of a more jazzy kind of song. And Johnny Blue is on it with her to do the male parts. But I've heard, you know, quite a few versions of this song. But I think Avril's version is really good. It stays very true to the original, but I think it still offers kind of her own take on it because of those jazzy kind of inflections in her singing. And I think it's just something so unexpected from her. Like you would never expect Avril Lavigne to do Baby It's Cold Outside and to do this kind of jazzy version of it. And I just really like it. I know some people really, really hate this song because of the lyrics. They think it's kind of a controversial song. And I can see that, but to me, it's more like just a song about two people who kind of like want to stay together, but because of society's expectations, they feel like they can't, you know, that's kind of my interpretation of it. And again, as far as Avril's version goes, I just think she did a phenomenal job with those vocals, and I would love to hear her do more jazzy kind of stuff in the future. So that brings us to the end of our Christmas special, but before we go, I want to wrap up this episode with a bit of levity. Some of you might remember when Avril was still married to Chad Kroeger that fans had joked about them recording a Christmas album together called Christmas with the Kroegers. There was even a mock-up album cover and track list. I wanted to share the proposed track list that we came up with over on Avril Band-Aids, and I'll also share the artwork on my Instagram account at bestdamnavrilpod. The artwork was made by the member Thy Archery, who I used to talk to a lot on the site back in the day, and we also came up with the track list together. The track list for Christmas with the Kroegers is Socks and Coal, Here's to Never Getting Up, 17 Degrees Outside, Bitchin' Christmas, Let Me Go Open My Presents featuring Chad Kroeger, Give Me What I Like for Christmas, Bad Santa featuring Marilyn Manson, Hello Santa, You Ain't Seen Your Presents Yet because I hid them in the closet, Sippin' on Eggnog, Hello Heartache, All I Got Was Socks, Falling Down the Chimney Fast, and Slush Slush. I hope that gave you some much needed laughs and a bit of good cheer after what I'm sure has been a challenging year for us all. Making spirits bright is what we're all about here at the Best Damn Avril Lavigne podcast, and doing this podcast has been one of my greatest joys this year. I love reading all the comments and messages I get saying how much you guys are loving it. It makes all the hard work that goes into it so worth it. I'm so excited about what's to come in the new year, both with this podcast and of course with Avril's new music. The new album is slated for a February release with a second single to come sometime in January. And of course, we can't forget to tune into Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve on December 31st, where Avril is scheduled to perform with Travis Barker. And so we conclude another edition of the Best Damn Avril Lavigne podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. This will be my last episode for the year, but I'll be back in the new year for all new episodes that I'm super excited for. I've got so much fun stuff planned that I can't wait to share it with you all. Happy holidays from the Best Damn Avril Lavigne podcast. The Best Damn Avril Lavigne podcast is hosted, produced, and edited by Andrea DiFrancesco. Opening theme music is Punk Rock Christmas from Audio Jungle. Closing theme is We Wish You a Merry Christmas by Federico Leonardi. Follow the latest podcast news on Instagram at bestdamnavrilpod or email bestdamnavrilpod@yahoo.com.
Thanks again, everybody, and happy holidays.